What an honor to have you here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much. Amazon. Who doesn't love Amazon? Addicted.
Very true. So tell us a little bit about your history. How did you get here? What did you do before building this multi-billion-dollar company? Tell us a little bit about your story.
So I'm a first generation Latina. My mother is from Mexico. I would love to tell you, what's kind of the typical narrative that I went to Harvard and, no, I didn't. I grew up very típica Latina, first of grandchild in the whole family. My mother's the oldest of 5 daughters. My grandmother's single mom. I was raised, my mother was a housekeeper. My dad was a mechanic, and a very traditional Southern California, lower middle class. Growing up, I saw that my mom was a housekeeper and she cleaned the houses of the kids I went to school with. But I remember early on just thinking, she was an entrepreneur. She owned her own business. She could be home when I got home. She controlled her hours. So I never looked at her as being less than. I always looked at her as being more than. And so both my parents weren't really very good about the whole self-confidence builder like us helicopter moms are of this generation, telling our kids they're perfect, they're so smart, they're the most beautiful. I quite oppositely had the opposite narrative, that grades didn't matter. My parents never looked at a report card. So I think that traditionally that confidence builder of your parents becoming first, I didn't have that. So I was my own confidence builder. And if any of you know what that's like, it's this constant thing in your head that you are less than, not smart, and not good enough. I never was one of those kids that was given an award at school. I had like about a 2.7 GPA when I graduated high school. I did not go to college. But I sit on the board of Harvard today.
Let's go. That's incredible. Incredible. So you started your company with.
So don't burn bridges. I've been blessed with this innate ability to let go of fear and anger. So I just kind of see the lens through forgiveness and kind of love, right? So that's how come my first husband works for me. So yeah, I started in the mortgage industry when I was 16 years old, because I, as the oldest Latina grandchild, the one that just inherently now is the matriarch of the family since the passing of my grandmother. My mother's getting up there. She's still insane at almost 82 years old. But yeah, super fit. Keep working out, girls. I just have this innate feeling like I need to take care of people. So I started in the industry and I just looked for what was going to pay me the most per hour. So I didn't do the traditional like work at McDonald's, which now McDonald's pays really good as a starting job. But I went and looked for a clerical input, data input clerk job at 16. I was pretty good at typing. And that led me to kind of look upward on that bottom rung, always look up and see who was making more money than me. Was it the person next to me or the person calling in to order what I was delivering? Well, it was the person calling in to order what I was delivering. And that was somebody who worked in the mortgage industry. So back then, no internet, no computers. That's how old I am. There was Sunday paper was the only way you could find a job. So I'm like, oh, loan opener position. So I found one. So that was kind of just my research of looking upwards, seeing who was making more than me, and then trying to get that position as an entry-level position. So, 30 years coming, a lot of jobs, a lot of mistakes. I was set up on a blind date with my now husband from my number one client. And my now husband has always been an entrepreneur as well. And he sold his company at 34 years old. He was unemployed. And I said, you know what, why don't you join me and come to work with me? Mortgage is so much like fun. So really that was the infancy of us building this company. The stats are wrong. We're almost 6,000 team members, 250 locations. We have 700 team members in India. So we're really kind of more global and big now, but the partnership that we had was of mutual respect. So it was built on mutual respect, not love, because love is like fluid, right? Some days I love him, some days I want to kill him, but I always respect him. So our company has been on this layer of respect since day one. He's really good at a lot of things. I'm really good at a lot of things. Neither one of us equally share the same skills. That's why it works for us.
That's great. Great answer. I'll tell you, it's not easy to work with your husband. So
I work with you.
She does work with my husband. She does. And I don't know if I can say I love mortgages as much as you two do, but yes. It's very interesting. And as long as you have the passion and you like what you do, it doesn't even feel like a job. So great. Scaling the company is one thing, and kind of sharing that responsibility with your husband is another. Tell us a little bit about the risks that you had to take and that trajectory to get you to where you are now.
I mean, I think the biggest risk is accepting risk as something that's necessary for upward mobility. There's going to be risk in anything, in any decision you do. And really, honestly, the biggest thing that held me back was me. It was always me. It was always me thinking I wasn't good enough. It was always me looking for the approval of others, or to hear some, calling that friend or your coworker and like belaboring a decision over and over. Just make the decision and go with it. Because the thing is, you waste time thinking what might happen should you choose to go forward. And honestly, the worst thing is just not going forward. So I was the biggest one who held myself back. Like I said, I wasn't raised like, oh, Mija, you're so good, you're so smart. No, I was quite opposite, was very protected. I remember I was going to run for Miss La Mirada. And I told my mom, I'm going to run for Miss La Mirada. She's, I know, Mija, you're going to like embarrass the whole family. I won. I mean, and that's my early stages of seeking validation from my mom, and I didn't even get it. So maybe when I was that age and I thought I was really hurt by the non-support, maybe that was the biggest gift she gave me, that I don't need her permission or anybody's permission to do something, to move myself forward.
I remember listening to one of your interviews where you talk about imposter syndrome and how you kind of authentically shared that you didn't know what that was. Yeah. Can you share that story here as well? I thought it was very interesting.
I was on a big panel with peers, and I was asked in front of a ton of people in the same industry as me, if I suffered from imposter syndrome. And I was like, I don't know what that is. And they quietly kind of told me what it was, and then they went to the next person. So, of course, I went back right away and Googled imposter syndrome. And I was like, oh my God, it's me. It's me. Because I remember the narrative in my head thinking that I was always just lucky. Why am I having this success? Why am I winning things? Why are people choosing to come work for me? I kept thinking I'm just lucky. I mean, I'm really lucky. And it took that moment for me to reflect on and learn about the narratives that we implant into our brain neurologically, actually. The things that we tell ourselves in the morning, the things that we tell ourselves I was just telling the girl that's filming me right now, that I have a really hard time doing that self-content. I'm like, oh, that's me telling me that. So I challenge myself on imposter syndrome and recreating the narrative from I can't do this to I can do this, to I'm here because I'm smart. I may not be smart in the way mostly America tells us that we have to go to Ivy League schools, that we need to come from certain areas of the country to succeed, that my narrative is my own, and I challenge what people's perspectives of me might be now. And I challenge the narratives like social media feeds us all the time. We need to all look like Kim Kardashian. No, we don't. But just those constant narratives that are flowing our way, I try to just sit with them and accept it and write my own passages and my own narratives and my own ways of thinking. And so, yes, do I still suffer from imposter syndrome? Yes, I do. But I'm like, bring it on. Bring it on. Why is this person making me feel this way? Why is this situation making me feel this way? And then I try to just accept it and move on.
Yeah, I love that answer so much. I think that being authentic and what you bring on the table as a diverse leader matters. It matters to your team. It matters to the business. And I encourage all of us in this room to not think of ourselves as less than what we are, because we can be powerful, we can be influential, we can be anything we want. I want to go back to one point where you talked about how you built the company and how people really see you as a people leader. How do you build that talent in your org?
For me, it wasn't so kind of, I think it's better today than it was 22 years ago when I sat out to build this company. When the beginning of me building the company, I had to hire mostly men. So I'm sitting across the table, interviewing men that I quite respected in my industry, and they were choosing to work for me. And I'm like, why are they choosing to work for me? Because I think men too are tired of the mansplaining and the egocentric leadership. I think there's a lot of men who are raising daughters who aspire to be like people like us. So they too have to have a different way of looking at corporate America or the way America looks, which is diverse and beautiful and feminine. And so back in the day, I used to think when I talked about culture, it was way before companies would talk about culture. I actually named our culture NAF 360. And that just meant that you treat everybody that you interact with dignity and respect, because that's all I want, right? So I didn't think it was chic to be an empathetic leader. I didn't think it was chic to like cry in front of my team members, because I do. I get like super choked up if I promote somebody. I get super choked up when life happens to somebody in our organization and they either are liberated by it or they're suffering by it. Like I feel for people. And that today has given me probably the biggest accolades in our industry. Our industry is primarily all white male owned. The top 100 mortgage companies in the United States of America, I am the only female founder. I am the only diverse Latina by a landslide. I don't even know. But so if I were to like think that was a bad thing, that would like be a detriment. I hold it, my diverse background, as an honor, as a gift. My biggest gift is being different. My biggest gift is not being like everybody else. And I think today is becoming increasingly important to be people connected and to have an organization where your team members know that you actually think of them as human. It's bad enough that this country's narrative is so negative that it's our jobs as CEOs to create a house in industry, a platform where everybody doesn't even hear the noise outside. They come to work, they're like, yes. So it's just so much better when, I'm going to say it, you have a feminine touch in business, because I think males too are just thriving in an industry where they know their leaders really, truly care about them.
I love that answer. Yeah. I want to go back to your kids analogy. I thought it was a good one. So you're a mom as well. Do you ever feel that mom guilt Tell us a little bit about that, because I'm going through that a little bit now, so I want to hear your perspective.
So I'm a mother of 3 kids and a Mimi to 2 grandchildren. The guilt, does it ever go away? No, it doesn't. Because America's telling women, you need to make a choice. Our husbands aren't telling us that in most cases, but America tells us that. And I feel guilty now because my parents are aging. They raised me. They loved me. I'm here because of them. Now they need me. I love them. I need to be there for them. So when I'm here, I'm not there. There's the guilt. Kids, though, let me tell you, this is what's great about aging, because nothing else is good. I now get to have a 36-year-old son, a 35-year-old thriving mom who has 2 kids tell me they're proud of me, that I didn't miss a ball game, that I didn't miss anything in their lives. They see me as happy. They see me as fulfilled. They see me as thriving. They see me as healthy. I'm very fit for my age. They see me as being along the ride for a really long time, and they're a critical part of their lives. Your kids are only as happy as you are happy, and we're only as happy as our unhappiest child. So if you reverse guilt and you look at it from the lens of your child that you left at home with whomever's taking care of them, just know that 36 years later, they're going to look at you as like not as sacrificing for them, because they want to be where you are and even more. That's the thing about kids. As high as you go, they want to go higher. They're just looking at you as doing what you need to do to be fulfilled and happy in your life, because it is our lives, you guys, right? If we have one. So that's how you turn guilt to empowerment and into passion, into teaching your kids too, that it really is a land of opportunity, but it's also a land of dual income opportunity in most cases. So women are having to step up for many, many reasons outside of just wanting us to live our own lives. So I still feel guilt, but now it's because life turns, the circle happens. Right now I feel guilty because I'm not always with my parents, not with my kids. Now I'm like, no, you go and live your lives and thrive.
Yeah. I can totally resonate with that. I grew up in a family as well where my grandmother worked, my mother works. I always looked up to them. And I really hope one day my daughter does the same and becomes 10 times better. What is one advice you have for this group today?
I have this is like beyond top, 2 companies in the world to work with, for, alongside. Much of the narrative that I've give people in my organization is don't wait to be chosen. That senior leaders, we're not perfect. We don't see everyone every day. So make yourself seen, make yourself heard. Don't look for titles. Don't search for a title, be that title. Already own where you want to be, because that's what climbing the rung of corporate America is, and the rung of leadership, and climbing that ladder is always looking upwards, and not necessarily, you guys are really lucky. I see a lot of very similar, a lot of women in this organization. When I was climbing the ladder, all I saw was men. But I was never intimidated by it. I was kind of wondered about it. But my generation, you guys, I'm 61 years old. We will be the first generation of women to pass the largest amount of wealth this country's ever seen to our heirs. Self-made women. Self-made. So you guys were talking about the first woman millionaire. Your guys are now seeing women self-made billionaires, multi-billionaires. This was not around when I was growing up. Just know that there's no limit on anything that you want to do for yourself. And don't expect leaders to choose you. You choose you and let them know where you are, who you are, what you know, what you're learning, because we're not perfect. We don't see everything.
I love it. So many powerful messages today. I want to thank you one more time for your time, for your leadership, for being vulnerable today, and for sharing with us your story. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.